Come here, Ida. Hey. All right. Sit down. Thanks for getting me soap. Well, for those of you that have been following along, maybe you haven't had a chance to follow along yet. Been up in Maine for about 5 days now, hunting. I've got Ida and Wyatt with me, so I've got the old dog and the puppy. Hopefully able to learn a little bit from being together. Kind of what's been going on. So over those 5 days, and we've hunted moderately hard on most of those days. I think my biggest mileage has been about 8 in a single day, and haven't seen very many birds, honestly. We've moved, and I've seen a total of 5 birds. One of those from the road, and so you start questioning exactly what it is that's what's happening then. And is it because you're hunting the wrong spots? What's going on? And I think that, you know, kind of figured out a little bit this year in this area of Maine, and we're down east. I'm not going to tell you exactly where because of this, but you know, we're hunting out towards the coast for the most part, and the bird numbers are down. It's not because of us picking the wrong areas, or because there's lots of good cover. The state of Maine's got a great program where they've got wildlife management areas. I believe that's a cooperative endeavor between the state, some state-owned land, and private-owned land with access to that land. That's a massive amount of acreage. So there's great areas to hunt up here. And a lot of these areas have that early successional forest, you know, stuff that's been timbered and now is regrowing back. So it's great looking cover, and anywhere else in the country I'd be looking at this and I'd be going, man, this has got to be birds in here, because it's what I know to hold rough grouse from my hunting and rough grouse in other parts of the country. This is our first time hunting Maine though, so maybe something's different up here. But you've been trying different areas and different tactics, and really coming up with the same result, which is not a lot of birds. I'm not moving a lot of birds. And you know, some folks might think, well, that's because, you know, you're hunting a really young dog. Possible, but she's hunting really well for her age. And I've got the old lab, and yeah, he's not moving as fast, but he still knows the game well enough. So I think, you know, what I've determined really is that the numbers are way down. And in upland hunting, whenever that kind of goes down, you start asking yourself, well, why is that? And most of the time I start looking at weather first. If bird populations are down, generally what that means in a lot of areas is there's either been a really hard winter, which has affected the numbers. You know, the birds that have made it through a hard winter, generally, you know, those populations go down. Or what happens sometimes is a spring, on the opposite end of that, if you have a really wet spring during kind of the nesting time period, nests can be drowned out. So those are the two things that come to mind first. And so I started looking up what's going on here in this part of Maine. And truth is, it's neither one of those things. Looks like if you look at what happened last winter in Maine, this part of Maine actually had the 4th lowest snow total in recorded weather history, apparently. So then things start adding up a little bit. It wasn't a hard winter, it was a super light winter to the extreme. And so I look around at some of the places that we've been hunting and start thinking about those places and where we've been hiking, and yeah, a lot of these streams are actually dried up. And obviously the water levels at some of these lakes lakes that we're hiking to are lower. And so I'm starting to think that the weather event that probably has impacted the bird population in this area, and it's probably, and I'm not saying there's not birds here because we have moved some birds, but for the amount of ground we're covering and the type of cover that we're hitting, the population number should be higher. So that's not necessarily a great thing for having a young dog out here. But we're never really chasing bird forecasts. We're always interested in trying new areas and testing out, you know, what our skill level is in different conditions. And these conditions, it makes you question your skill level. I have run across a couple other hunters, and they've, it's always good to talk to folks who are up here and find out, you know, their perspective, because the locals who've hunted up here for much longer than I have will have a broader perspective and really getting kind of the same story, is that those numbers are fairly low for the area. So at least I don't feel like it's something that we're doing wrong. I talked to a young man that I ran across yesterday, a local, nice kid, and he said he'd seen 3 birds all season. So when I move only 3 birds after covering 8 miles a couple days ago, I start thinking, well, we aren't doing too bad. Checking on the dogs over there. So we'll take it. Hopefully we get a chance to actually close in on some birds. And I think we will. We'll keep working on it. We're probably going to move areas. That's another kind of, I won't call it a pro tip, it's just what we do. We're not chasing forecasts, but we've hunted in this general vicinity for, like I said, 5 days, kind of in the down east area, and it seems like across that swath, those numbers have been fairly consistently low. So we're going to pick up and probably move and try a different area. A lot of times the climates can actually be kind of microclimates, and an area that didn't get much water or had low snowfall totals can, you know, you can just go, you know, a hop, skip, and a jump away, and you can change that luck, change that environment, find an area that actually had normal snow totals or normal water levels, and then run into birds there. So that's probably what we're going to do, is we're going to pick up and try a different area. We're going to keep hunting out here today. The bigger news is this, though. This is the next ultimate upland cache. It's worth nearly $400 in Orvis Upland Essentials gear. And even though we're not finding a lot of birds up here, we're gonna find a place to put this today. And the other big news on this one, kind of the first hint, it's not really a hint, it's just fact, is the last 2 caches that we've hidden and people have found, they've been able to drive to. This is going to be the first cache that you're going to actually have to get off-road and use those legs. So hopefully I entice some people to come out to this area, find the birds that we haven't found. Feel free to show us how it's done, and while you're out here, find the next ultimate upland cache for Orvis gear. Part of that gear is going to be this the new Pro Series vest. It's what I've been rocking the entire season. I really like it. But there'll be more details on what you're going to win, where you can find this, and the first clues as to where this is going to be after we place it today. So you're going to want to check back on our other social media channels, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. That's where we're going to be giving the hints as to where you can find this. And of course, you're going to be able to play along. If you aren't going to be able to make it to this part of Maine, that's okay too, because you're going to be able to play along on our social feeds and win some prizes just for following the ultimate upland cache number 3. All right, well, we got to get back at it. I got to hide this, and then we're going to get back downhill. Hope you guys are getting outside this weekend, and definitely follow along. Hey, look, Ida found her own ultimate upland cache. It's a used sock that she found. Wonderful. Okay, you can go put that back now. So there you have it. Make sure you follow us, get outside, and come looking for this cache.